processing the reaction with Colourpuncture. And reaction is something that we can interpret as a call to action of some sort. And today I would like to focus more on conflict resolution Colourpuncture, which is specific part of Colourpuncture. This is very advanced Colourpuncture. This is not your regular body treatment. This is something we do when a person feels like they need to really look into some aspect of their life. So it's more about personal development very, very often. So, for example, if there is a weak sense of self, we are talking about prenatal therapy. If there was a problem at birth, if there was anything, that person can have difficulties starting a new project, entering a room full of strangers, connecting with people in general, this kind of connecting with themselves, obviously. And if there was a problem within the family, within parents, mother-father balance, so to speak, then we can do mother-father therapy, because then it will help them to integrate the qualities, the lighter essence of the mother and the father, the real parents they had in their life, and so on. There are conflict resolution therapy as such, there is a transmitter relays of different kind, and so on. So how do we integrate Colourpuncture journeys when we are talking about conflict resolution? Because when we are talking about conflict resolution, we are talking more of a journey, not just a therapy or a treatment. And this could be really, really beautiful if you know how to handle it. Why? Because as we mentioned already, reaction, whatever happens, whatever whatever comes up basically in our energy field, in our thoughts, in our emotions, when we are going through this treatment, whether it is self-care Colourpuncture or you go to a therapist and somebody gives you Colourpuncture, we can come up with some insights. It can come as insights in your mind, it can come as an emotion, it can come as a memory, image, anything, body sensation, felt sense. So how do we process this? So first of all, let's look at where our patient is, or where you are at when you are at the start of conflict resolution journey. So here is this person, and here is the entire life. Imagine this wheel of life with everything. So their self, their immediate environment, their family, social circle, jobs, responsibilities, leisure time, health, and everything. And notice that health is just one part of this bigger life wheel. So it's very important to see what we are looking at. Within health, this particular person, this particular time wants to look at a particular issue which we can resolve with conflict resolution therapy of Colourpuncture. So this helps you to see how we can read the reactions, because very often we can attribute whatever happens during Colourpuncture session, whatever realization we can come up with, or after, the way we interact with people differently, for example, or we access new projects differently, or so on. We can interpret it only in terms of reaction to Colourpuncture, which will be the wrong thing to do, because basically we are whole human beings. We react to everything. We react to everything which happens around us, including this Colourpuncture session, because this is just part of our life. So this is very important. And by the same token, it's very easy to disregard Colourpuncture effect on you if, for example, there are many things happening in your life at the very same time, and more on this later. So first of all, you need to take a long look at what this patient is actually trying to achieve with a conflict resolution therapy, how they're reacting, how it all fits in, and what else might need an active reconsideration in their life. And talking about active reconsideration, we come into the second point, which is what Colourpuncture does. Very often what Colourpuncture does, I mean, all the time what Colourpuncture does, Colourpuncture never adds anything new. It's not like you receive Colourpuncture and suddenly you have this new awareness. This is not a new awareness. This is rather something that was there all the time, but got covered under layers and layers of habits, secondary gains, life happens, responsibilities, burdens, not enough time for self, and so on. Excuse me. So Colourpuncture does not add anything new. Or what it does, it rather naturally helps us to deassemble certain part of our life we are looking at, keeping in mind the focus of a particular therapy of conflict resolution Colourpuncture. and then reassemble it in a much better order. So this is our aim. We all want to live more aligned life, and this is what Colourpuncture excels at. It can really help us to live the most aligned life possible, because our awareness about what we actually need and what we deeply want coming through the body. And when it comes through the body and not through our mind, this is always a prime importance, because very often with our mind we buy into what we think we should do or what other people want us to do. Our body knows best. Our body always holds the key to everything. So when you visualize this deassemble and reassemble process, it helps you to see the background. So the third point is, and I'll share you a little story here. When I was actually first time learning Colourpuncture conflict resolution as a student, we have this concept, which is known concept in natural medicine, that sympathetic dominance, too much stress in too short period of time can give rise to sympathetic dominance, and obviously then the body might not cope with the consequence of it, and so some not very nice processes can start. And this is a known fact, and I was sort of looking at it for the first time. At the very same time, I was networking in Manchester, and I met a young lady, and she was young. She was in her early 30s. She was beautiful. She was successful. She did what she loved. She was newly married, happily married, and she had social circle. She was everything that everybody else probably on these same networking events can wish for. So we started talking, and I shared that I'm doing health and natural health and Colourpuncture, and she shared her story. So she said, during like a year or two, so many positive events, right, happened in her life. She started this new job, a new project. So she started tapping into her new skill. She got married. This was so all wonderful. It all happened within a year or two, and suddenly she got cancer. And she was absolutely terrified and totally sort of puzzled, because like nothing bad ever happened in her life apart from this particular period of time when she was just very, very, very busy, and she didn't really have time excuse me, to process, to integrate the changes, the positive changes, because here is this famous stress table when positive events have very comparable values in terms of causing us stress as negative events. And this is something that we all very often overlook, because negative events obviously overshadows everything else, so we can totally see it, but it's not so with positive events. So this was something for me to remember. So number 3, too much of a good thing. This is something that we can see how it relates to Colourpuncture in a moment. When I was a little girl, I really liked reading French books, French classic. I have no idea why. Probably our local library just had a really good stock of French books. So in one of the books, I think it was from series of human comedy, there was this phrase which stayed with me, probably out of everything else I heard or read about in French literature. The phrase was something along the lines that in our inner life, thoughts or reflections are the same as events in our real life. So this is obviously a very bad translation, but this is the essence. So in our reflection, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, new connections, new associations and insights are the same as real events. And so here we come to what we are talking about today, how we process and integrate conflict resolution, Colourpuncture. When we go too fast, because sometimes the temptation is to go too fast, because sometimes it can feel absolutely exhilarating. You're feeling wonderful. You're getting all these insights and new connections, new association. You're full of plans and everything. And then when you go too fast, something doesn't happen. This integration doesn't happen. In the same way as events in real life, in the example that I gave you before, doesn't really give the body, mind, the energy field time to readjust, to reconnect, to accept, and really fully feel and anchor on the body our new reality, be that a new project or happy marriage or whatever. Same ways processing of conflict resolution, Colourpuncture. If there are really big insights coming up and you have in many, many sessions, chances are you might not be in time to really process it all. So how we can approach it? There are several very, very simple strategies here. You can simply take a break. You can take a break and you can spread out your Colourpuncture sessions. This is especially valid when you have patients who are coming from long distance, they travel long distance to see you. And so very often there is a temptation to do them back to back. Sometimes it works. Many times it doesn't because the person is not quite ready. I had several people on these long, really deep sequences, and we did them back to back several days, and it totally worked because this particular person or another particular person, they really worked or in this area in the past. They knew what they're going to do. They very often had their own Colourpuncture sets. They supported themselves with body Colourpuncture in between, so it totally worked. And in many cases, it just doesn't because the person is not having enough time and space, because very often there is time, but there is not enough space because there are demands. There are different focuses in life. Remember, the whole life will, right? And here is our health, and here is our conflict resolution journey within it. So many times there's simply not enough time to process. So taking breaks, this is the best first step. Second one is creating some body session, which could be really eclectic in terms of what they need, what is coming up on a body level as a response to conflict resolution therapy. And then you can create a body session for them if this is your patient, or for yourself if you are using Colourpuncture conflict resolution as a self-care. And then you can intersperse your conflict resolution journey with those intermediate stations, which are body treatment, because body needs support, time and space and support and realignment of energy along the meridians and dream zones and reflex zones and so on. So this is something very simple. Also, there are certain situations when you feel that you really need to refer your patient on, or you yourself need to take responsibility and ask for outside help. For example, when the situation is too much, it's either something that the body reacts in a way that this is outside of your area of expertise and you need to refer them on, especially if there is some physical issue as well, not just personal development journey with conflict resolution. Sometimes they might need deeper journey with psychologist, and if you are not at all versed in psychology in any shape and form, don't attempt it. Rather refer them on to somebody who can really help this person. So this kind of thing can really, really help. And then you can have all the gifts and benefits of conflict resolution Colourpuncture. And of course, talking about conflict resolution, as we already mentioned, this is active process. We really need to see where in our lives the action is needed, what kind of adjustment to our habits and thought patterns and reaction patterns need to happen in order for us to come to the next step, because this is something which is really, really needed. Very often it comes to this lifestyle, habits change, better alignment. We see something that we didn't see before. We start seeing our needs very often on our conflict resolution journey, what we really, truly, deeply need. And very often, this is just maybe more of the thing we want rather than the thing we actively participate in because this is our profession or this is the area of our responsibility, and so on. So I hope this helps. Good luck with your Colourpuncture. And when you sort of stop listening to this, watching this video, excuse me, I would like you to spend maybe a couple of minutes, maybe writing things down, or maybe just closing your eyes and seeing what comes first, right, in your awareness. In your life, where was this period of time when you had too much of a good thing or too much of a bad thing? Maybe there was a really dark period of your time indeed, and you just events happened so quickly that all you did, you were trying to survive and adapt and somehow react rather than live your life. And it's almost like this is a big indigested cluster, energy cluster somewhere in your energy field, which can make itself actually known when you go on conflict resolution journey. It happens to me. It happened to several of my patients. They come up during processing, during receiving conflict resolution Colourpuncture or any other Colourpuncture for that matter. They come into memories of periods of their time, their life, but they were just really, really busy and there were too many events. So, for example, they were in one relationship straight away, they jumped into another relationship, or they change professions, they change jobs very, very quickly, or they change locations, they moved. All those things, if not given enough time, and then obviously they get absorbed so much with the new things that the completion of the old thing were not done properly. And our body seems to require that, no matter how quick and exciting we want our life to be. So hope it helps. Any questions, let me know. Please subscribe to the channel if you would like to see which other topics we are going to cover next in our live calls. And if you would like to participate and write questions, please do so. I'm basing my lives currently on questions that I'm receiving by emails from my students, from my patients, from what I feel is necessary to know if you're doing color puncture. But all live participation or any questions by any kind of channels, very, very welcome. I'm here to help you. Good luck with your color puncture.